Violence is not the answer. Yeah, exactly. You see a lot of violence on TV, and we're watching this program at the moment on Netflix called Ozarks, and it's pretty good. But in my gut, I have this fear it's going to turn out like Breaking Bad, where it gets more and more violent each week. Me and my missus had to stop watching it after about 4 or 5 weeks because the violence just got just too much. But listen, those were violent acts committed against someone else. Here I'm talking about, and there's no room for that, by the way, right? I was bullied at school, and I don't like bullies. I don't like violence of any sort, especially when it's committed to me. Anyway, that's a different story. And I've had my streaks of mean behavior to my siblings, so I have my apologies to make, and I've made my apologies. But that's not what we're talking about here, right? Inflicting violence onto someone else is one thing, or having it inflicted onto you is one thing, but inflicting it on yourself, now come on, there has got to be a better way. So what am I talking about? Today I had a couple of calls, and mastermind calls, with a couple of clients, and one of them was deeply upset and was really beating themselves up about not getting things done and making slow progress. Now, we'd had a coaching program, a coaching call, a couple of last week it was, and this person was in one place, and we took I took her to a different place where mentally she felt more calm. But when I spoke to her in the group session today, she got some of it done, so she made real progress, and it was like applauded by the group. But there was bits that she hadn't got done, and she was beating herself up. And she goes, and she said, "I just don't know how to get stuff done." And I said, "Look, why don't you use the process you learned on my web class, the planning web class?" And she goes, "Oh, it's not that easy." And I said, "Of course it's not that easy. If it was that easy, you would learn something once and you would be able to apply it, and everything would be amazing all the time, because you'd never have a learning process. When you're, and this was on time management, and I had a lot of calls about time management, about overwhelm, about so much to do, but not just not knowing where to start, not knowing a path to take. And I get that, right? I get that. I have been there, and as much as maybe 3 weeks ago, I was there for a couple of hours. Certainly, 3 years ago, that was that was a large part of my day, was living in overwhelm, until I went back to my basics and carried on the planning I started doing years before that. So it is not something that you learn once and it's all done. You've got to practice it, and that's what my coaches do for me. In the period when I was overwhelmed, I had not had a coach for a couple of months, and I got back into the old habits. And when I have my coaches, they keep me to task, right? I pay them, and so I'm not going to pay someone and then not follow their guidance, not follow their advice, and I'm not going to say I'm going to do something and then not do them. So that's the relationship. Whereas if it's a friend, if it's you might just make promises, and as long as you're not going to see them for a while, it sort of drifts away. But when you have a business relationship with someone that says, "Are you going to do something?" and then a decent coach will say to you, "Right, you've said you're going to do that. That is quite a big chunk. Are you sure you can get it down? Let's look at getting a little bit less done. And you've only got 3 hours next week. Let's look at breaking it down into smaller chunks, and let's get a smaller chunk done so you can make progress." And so that's what I would like to suggest to you as we come into the new year. I did a web class on planning for the new year, but there's so much us entrepreneurs want to do, especially in the new year. We're driven. We want to go. We want to just make some changes in our business. We want to change our fortunes. We want to make our businesses successful. We want to love our businesses again. We want to be super successful with our businesses. And sometimes there's just so much to do. And I feel that I've got so many ideas right now. I had to take a deep breath and then calm right down and then identify the first project I was going to do and then break it down into smaller chunks and start working on the smallest of chunks of projects to start making progress. And today I achieved a load because I applied that thinking and that process to the nth degree. Now, my challenge for myself is to do it again tomorrow and the day after that and the day after that. But I've promised my coaches that certain things are going to get done and I better make sure I stick to them, right? So that's it for today's live. Remember, if you're overwhelmed, if you feel overworked, let's go back to basics. Let's start putting a plan together. Put your big rocks, like I've talked about in my web class, which is still available, by the way, the 5-day. It's becoming a 5-day challenge, but right now you can view it on demand as a recording. If you click on the top of the Facebook on my picture, you'll see a link there. But it is all about making sure that we do the right things at the right time in the right order, but we mustn't focus on results. We must focus on activity, because activity we can control. We're in full control over our activity and our time, believe it or not, and we have really little to no control over the results of that activity. The activity becomes experiments that we expect certain. We have a thesis that if we do this, then we're going to get this result. And if we do get the result, the thesis was right. If we don't, we need to adjust the thesis. I'm getting a bit scientific with you. I'm pretending I'm a scientist. I'm not at all. But you get the idea, right? You have to think, if I do this, I think I'm going to get 3 conversations. If I do that and I don't get 3 conversations, then that presumption was wrong, and I need to go back and go, right, let me try something else to see if I can get 3 conversations, and so on and so on. Hopefully that makes sense. This is Gordon wishing you well. Take care, have a great evening, and I'll see you tomorrow on the live. Take care. Don't forget, post in the free coaching group. I will always address any questions I have. I did one today on as a video reply. Check it out in the coaching group, business owners who want more choice, and I'll see you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.